how did philosophy get to where it is today? Well, let's look at a timeline of the history of Western philosophy, starting from the Greeks to modern day. We'll start around the 6th century BC, where thinkers like Thales started with the question of not who caused this, but what is this made of? And that's a small change that ends up changing everything. Because now you're looking for principles, not stories. From there, things escalate pretty quickly. You get pre-Socratics arguing about the nature of reality. Heraclitus says everything is in flux. Parmenides says change is an illusion. And right there, you already have one of philosophy's oldest tensions. Is reality stable, or is it constantly becoming? Then you hit Socrates, and this is where philosophy turns inward. Socrates isn't interested in what the world is made of. He wants to know how you should live. What is justice? What is virtue? And more importantly, do you actually know what you think you know? And he has this habit of exposing people who don't. That's the Socratic method, just asking questions until someone realizes their beliefs don't hold up. It's uncomfortable, it's destabilizing, and ultimately gets him executed. But his student Plato takes these conversations and builds something much bigger. Plato basically says, look, the world we experience isn't the real world. It's a shadow of something more perfect, what he calls the forms. So when you see a beautiful thing, it's not beauty itself, it's just participating in the idea of beauty. Then comes Aristotle, who pushes back on that. He brings philosophy back down to earth, literally. Instead of abstract forms, he studies biology, ethics, politics, logic. He's trying to categorize and understand the world as it actually appears. And for a long time, he becomes the foundation of Western thought. After the Greeks, philosophy gets absorbed into religion, especially during the medieval period. Thinkers like Thomas Aquinas are trying to reconcile faith with reason. The question becomes, can you prove God exists using logic? Can revelation and philosophy coexist? Then you hit the modern period and everything breaks open again. Descartes starts with doubt, radical doubt. He basically says, what if everything I believe is false, and the only thing he can't doubt is that he's thinking? Hence the line, I think, therefore I am. That becomes the new foundation, not God, not tradition, but the individual mind. From there you get a split. Rationalists like Descartes think knowledge comes from reason. Empiricists like Locke and Hume argue it comes from experience. And Hume pushes this so far that he basically undermines causality itself, saying we don't actually see cause and effect, just patterns. That creates a problem. If you can't trust reason fully and you can't trust experience fully, what's left? Now that's where Immanuel Kant steps in, and his answer is kind of revolutionary. He says the mind isn't passive, it actively shapes reality. We don't see the world as it is, we see it through structures like time, space, and categories of understanding. So in a sense, reality as we know it is partially constructed. Now from there, philosophy gets a little more complicated. You get Hegel, who sees history itself as a kind of rational process, ideas evolving through conflict. Then Marx kind of flips that into material terms, saying it's not ideas driving history, it's economics and class struggle. Then you move into existentialism, where the focus shifts back to the individual, but in a much darker way. Kierkegaard talks about anxiety and faith. Nietzsche declares, that God is dead and asks what happens when all traditional values collapse. Later you have Sartre, who argues that we're radically free, but with that freedom comes responsibility most people do not want. And at the same time, another branch develops. You have analytic philosophy, which is focused on language, logic, and clarity. This is thinkers like Bertrand Russell and Wittgenstein, who start asking, are philosophical problems actually just problems of language? And that's kind of where we are now. Western philosophy doesn't move in a straight line anymore. It sort of branches. It argues with itself. It questions its own foundations. But if there's one thread running through all of it, it's this. At every stage, philosophy is reacting to a kind of uncertainty. The Greeks questioned myth, the moderns questioned certainty, the existentialists questioned meaning, and we're still doing the same thing, just with different vocabulary. So the real history of Western philosophy isn't just a sort of sequence of ideas, it's the history of doubt becoming more precise.